their smallest subscription is like $27 a month, I think. And then like the medium one is like $79 a month. We're on the highest one, but it's because we're doing, a lot of revenue. And that gets up to $2,000 a month to use that. But again, we've run literally up to, let's say, $10 million in sales off a $79 a month platform with Shopify. So I definitely would recommend it. I wouldn't recommend using anything else, to be perfectly honest.
Which is incredible because there's all these tech geeks out there that can build out these super savvy websites, but you can go to Shopify. And I've heard Sean say this before, like, "Hey, we just use Shopify," and you're like, "What? How are you doing so much volume?" But
Yeah.
to your point, it's a great platform. They've worked out all the kinks.
Yep. Exactly.
So yeah, okay. Sorry I cut you off, but I just, I've spent some money on some websites before. I'm like, I wonder if Shopify can keep up with the kind of volume that we're talking about.
Oh,
Obviously they can.
definitely. I mean, yeah. I mean, I know guys who are doing 500 plus $1 million a year off of Shopify. So it's like if they can do that kind of volume on Shopify, then your little shop that you're just getting started with, or your little company that you're starting, if you're worried about doing $10,000 in sales and it not being able to keep up, like, you're completely wrong.
Mm, good
So
point. Yeah. All right. So we got our brand, we got our T-shirt, our widget, we got our Shopify. Now what? Where do we go?
I'm not sure, man. The future is it's always I always like to tell people, like, when you're trying to like plan your future and everything like that, like I only plan stuff like 3 months at a time, 90 days out.
Yeah.
We live in an environment where things change and adjust so quickly day by day that, again, like when you're selecting these little paths and making these decisions every day, your future can change dramatically based off what you're doing today. So that's why I really try and be as present as possible and do everything that I can, in the singular moment. And I set 90-day targets. Outside of that, like, there are some things that I want to do in life. There are things that I want to accomplish. There's some things that I have goals for in the long term, but they're extremely, extremely minimal. People always try and kind of set goals, that are like yearly, or, oh, here's what I want to do in 5 years, 10 years, everything like that. And it's like, you don't know if, like, you're working at a mortgage job and like 4 years in, you're like, holy shit, man, this is living hell. I don't want to do this. So it's like, I don't like planning too far out, because, what I mean, from there, it's like, you never know when that day comes, or like, I'm tired of this shit. My happiness is worth more than my paycheck, and I'm ready to make a jump. So for me, it's like, I'm just focused on building this business as much as we can. I want to have Lions Not Cheap Apparel have $1 billion valuation by the end of next year. And literally, that's the only thing that I'm focused on, and, helping others and coaching others on the side, and help sharing kind of like what we're doing to help them win. That's really the only things that I'm caring about right now.
I love it. I love it. Well, hopefully you've got some stock in that company. I know Sean probably takes pretty good care of you. Hey, last question about people with their businesses and their apparel. And again, I would encourage people to reach out to Alex and look at his course that he's offering. A lot of people get bored of what they're putting out. They
Mm-hmm.
feel like, oh, nobody's buying my stuff, right? And I look at Lions Not Cheap, and you guys still have the staple logo T-shirt available, right? Clear, and
Yeah.
some people are buying it for the first time. What is your message to people when they feel like they're not selling because people don't want it, or they're bored of it? Is it a lack of really pushing the message out and letting it resonate, or realizing there's still a lot of people that haven't seen it, or do
Yeah.
they really need to dig into, okay, maybe it's not that great?
That's a very hard question to answer, to be honest with you, because they all kind of intertwine with each other. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It's like, if you're not lacking, or if you are lacking like brand excitement, it doesn't matter how good or bad your designs are. Some designs eventually, no matter how good they are, will, end up flopping, because it's like you saturated the market with it long enough. So, and then a lot of it too is like, there's a very rough balance between like, hey, how long do I have to stick with something and grit it out, versus, hey, why isn't this working? I need to make some adjustments. So I think that's something that's kind of unique to every single individual. But the biggest things that I'd focus on is making sure there's excitement around your product, make sure the customer experience is amazing, make sure your product is amazing, and understand too that, like, the hardest part of getting started, specifically, is selling to a cold market, which is people who've never heard about you. They have no idea who you are. And you're just like your random dude who pops up on their Facebook with a t-shirt, and you're hoping that message resonates with them. That's the hardest part to getting started. And that's where, if we kind of want to circle back to the point, or the topic that we're talking about, of having a face to the brand and having a personal brand who's a leader of the product. When you're pushing it out as a leader, you create what's called a warm audience, which is way, way, way easier to
Mm.
market to than someone who's never heard about you before. So again, that's why building a personal brand, especially as the owner, founder of the company, is very, very important, because people are going to buy from you because they trust and believe in you. And anything you throw on a t-shirt, they want to support you. So that warm brand is way easier to sell to than a cold market. So if you feel like you have like a headache where you're like, hey, I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall, no one's buying my stuff, you're more than likely taking some wrong marketing approach or giving the wrong products to a cold market. And again, that's the hardest market to get into, is people who have no idea who you are and convincing them to buy from you for the first time. Once they bought from you, they're on a list. It's very quick. It's very efficient. It's very, cost effective to market to them. I always like tell everybody there's a top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel when you're advertising. Top of funnel is people who've never heard about you in their entire life. Middle of funnel is people who know who you are but haven't bought from you. And the bottom of the funnel is people who've bought from you. And as you go down the funnel, it gets cheaper to advertise to each different segment, because their trust is increased tremendously as they work their way down the funnel. So again, try your best to figure out what you can do to kind of crack that cold market with unique products, or what we call like a lead product to get someone sucked into your brand. Like our Lions Not Sheep OG t-shirt, for a while, it wasn't our main bread and butter, even though it's like the original shirt that we're always going to sell till the end of time. But there was like shirts that we call like lead products. Like we had one that said no beard, no booty on it, or we had one that said give violence a chance. These are products that like caught people's attention. They bought into it, and then they're like, oh shit, this is a badass brand. Yeah. So, work with lead products specifically for your cold audiences. But then, once you start targeting your middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, you're going to find success way, way, way easier. But excitement around the brand's huge. Lead products are huge. And just making sure you spend enough time and energy to tap into that cold market is super important, because a lot of people give up too quick. So like, oh, I, put my heart and soul into this design. It's not selling. Another thing you got to consider too is just because you like the design doesn't mean the market likes the design. So don't be afraid to set your ego aside. And, if it's your favorite design, cool. But if it doesn't sell, maybe move on to the next, try rearranging the graphics, try doing something else and taking a different approach. Because there's literally designs that we've sold where I'm like, this shit's going to completely flop. There's no way we're going to sell this out. And literally I'll drop a text message to our list and it's like, boom, sold out, done. I'm like, okay, did not see that coming. And there's others too where I'm like, I love this design. This can be one of our best sellers. And we sell like 3 t-shirts and it's like, well, shit. So a lot of factors come into play, but again, it's very, coming back to your original question, it's very dependent on each individual user and what they're doing.
I love it. Last thing, because we've gone way over time. I really appreciate your stories and your life perspective and where you've been. You guys dropped a Let's Go Brandon. And if I heard the story right, you didn't even produce the shirts. You were like print on demand, and then it just took off. And it's like, boom, we got to print these things. Who knew, right, that was going to take off the way that it did?
Yeah. So that's actually probably one of my favorite stories of what we've done with Lions Not Sheep. So Sean has a monthly fly-in where with his coaching group, the Lions Den, every month he has 50 people. They can pay for tickets and come in, and he'll do like a one-day in-person coaching event, right? Well, it was at the event where I'm sitting there at the back table just on my laptop, and I'm like scrolling through Instagram. It's the end of the day, and I'm just like, I'm mentally checked out. I'm like on the Instagram, just browsing as you do. And I see a video pop up, and it's people at a stadium, and they're literally just chanting. They're like, fuck Joe Biden, fuck Joe Biden. And I'm kind of curious because, I have a marketing sense. I'm like, these are my people. So I go and I click on the comment section, and I see so many hashtags that say hashtag FJB, hashtag FJB. And I was like, that's kind of genius. So I went up to Sean and I was like, yo, check out this video. A bunch of people are hashtagging this. Like, what if we put it on a shirt? And he's like, I don't know if it'll sell, but like, let's try it. And I'm like, cool. So I literally sent a message to our graphic designer, and he came up with the design. And when we want to launch designs that are like super, super quickly, we actually have pictures of Sean and other models in a plain black t-shirt, and our designer will go on there and map it on very professionally to make it look like a real t-shirt, right? Well, we got everything mapped. And by that point, it was kind of late in the day. So I'm like, cool, tomorrow I'm going to add the product into Shopify. We're going to try and sell it, and we're going to launch it, right? Well, it was so funny because Sean was headed out to the racetrack, and we posted it. And all of a sudden, literally from the second we posted it, like within 2 or 3 minutes, we had like over 1,000 likes on the post. Everybody's commenting. They're like, holy shit, you did not just drop that t-shirt.
I remember.
And I had my Shopify notifications. I turned it back on, and I kid you not, within seconds, it was like ding sale, ding, 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 ding. Like I literally have like a video of my phone sitting on, like, I think it was a table, and it was just like notification, 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 notification. And like, I called Sean, I was like, yo, I think this is going to be a big hit for us. And he's like, cool, let's order like 1,000 t-shirts, see if we can like do a rush order. So a rush orders, we can usually get the t-shirts in within about like 4 or 5 days or so. So he's like, yeah, just place an order for 1,000. I don't think we're going to sell more than that. Well, long story short, for $35 t-shirt, after we sent out an email and an SMS to our list and made that post, we did over $130,000 in sales of that t-shirt in a single day.
Wow.
And so he was out at the racetrack. He didn't even know what's going on. He called me on his way back like, holy shit, dude, have you seen what's going on? I'm like, yeah, dude, trust me, I've been looking at it all day. And I'm here talking to our supplier, like, yo, add another 1,000 to our order, add another 1,000 to our order, add another 1,000 to our order. And it was just absolutely insane. Cause like, that's one of those things where like, if you align with your brand and your audience, and like, there's moments in time where like the iron gets so hot, it's like, if you strike it, there is so much profit to be made. It's not even funny. And finding a success like that, as much as I want to say it's like very common, it's very, very hard to come by. Like having that brand and that opportunity and that message and that audience to actually, push that product in front of, that's something that you need to build. And it's, it's not an overnight thing. So that's what other people have got to understand about that kind of little success story, is that we built the brand, for over a year. Up to that point, had lists on our email, or our email lists were like, I think 150,000 people at that time. We had like 40,000 people on our SMS list. So it's like we had the platform to do it and do that big of numbers because of what we built prior. But if you're in business and you're dropping products, make sure and keep an eye out for like current events and what's hot, what people are on about, because it's like, that's, you know what I mean, that's something that could bring in like literally a shit ton of profit into your business within a quick 24-hour period. And ever since, it's become our number 2 best-selling product of all time. So wow. It's strike the iron while it's hot, but you just gotta, as a disclaimer, you gotta have the platform to do something like that. It's not an overnight deal that's gonna happen.
And like you said, they come in for that shirt and they see your other stuff. It's like, wow, they got cool stuff in here. So Alex, I just want to thank you for your time. Your Instagram is Alex URBIE. If you guys want to follow Alex URBIE is his Instagram. Do you have a website or anything? I know we can find you at Lions Not Cheap and see all the cool stuff you're doing over there.
Yeah, so my personal website is alexurban.com. And then if you're looking at all for the Shopify course, that is on shopifyscalingsecrets.com.
Right on. Well, Alex, again, thank you for your time, your insight. I love your story. If you've been listening today, this is a story worth knowing and understanding, because you too can live that similar life. Alex made some big decisions at the right times.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on.